You created a multi-million-dollar business called House of Tara.
Correct.
Teach us your ways.
So I started as a bridal makeup artist.
Okay. As a student.
As a student. So I was lucky, connected with the bride. Her wedding was very well celebrated because she was the daughter of the chief of naval staff. He was almost like the second in command or like a vice president or the head of Senate.
Do you remember what you got paid for that?
At the end of the day, it came to about 15,000 naira.
Why the jump from service provider to I own that industrial process?
Yeah. There's a bit of boredom that you could have. I think that entrepreneurs have it. There's a boredom syndrome where after a while you're like, what's next? I realized that people were also interested in products.
When they talk about giving medicine with bitter medicine with a bit of honey, here on the long form, we try to give it as it is. What is it about our African businesses that cannot outlive a founder?
This is the very, very best. I introduce the very, very next. Big deal. You know this is the big league. Sanga mumi handa ya chigari mega big fish. Word on the street to Akagera. Habari gani mumeze mte. Yute shimi mana kuva honda muchi ye. If you want the long form, come close mrabure. Wait, what?
The long form.
What did he say?
The long form.
What?
The long form.
The long form. The long form. This conversation is brought to you by Akagera Medicines, a biotech company that is majority owned by the Rwandan people. Akagera Medicines is not only committed to expanding access to healthcare, but also supporting conversations that inform, educate, and empower. Learn more about Akagera Medicines by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting their website at akageramedicines.com. Every year, millions of businesses are started across Africa. Some become profitable, some even become household names, but very few survive beyond their founders. Why? Why do so many African businesses struggle to become institutions instead of simply remaining extensions of the people that created them? My guest this week on the Long Form podcast is Tara Fela-Durotoye, a leading African entrepreneur. Tara built one of the continent's most influential beauty brands, House of Tara, trained thousands of entrepreneurs, and today helps founders build companies that can outlive them through her Building Beyond You forum. This conversation is not about makeup. It's about leadership, institutions, wealth creation, and what it really takes to build businesses that last. Tara.
Yes.
Welcome to the Long Form podcast.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute honor. It's not very often that I get to sit with powerhouse Nigerian business people and public speakers. So I'm going to learn a lot from this conversation, and I'm super honored and excited that you're here. Yeah. And I think a lot of your conversations are about how do businesses outlive founders?
Correct.
But in Africa, our biggest problem is not that businesses don't outlive founders. It's the fact that businesses don't exist at all, or businesses don't become profitable enough. So you created a multi-million-dollar business called House of Tara.
Correct.
Teach us your ways.
Thank you very much. But I'd like to quickly just address something that you talked about earlier. Let me rock the boat a little bit. I do think that in Africa, we have a lot of businesses. There is some statistics that show that entrepreneurship and female entrepreneurship accounts for most of the entrepreneurship that we see on the continent. And African female entrepreneurs are probably also some of the most recorded entrepreneurs in the world. So entrepreneurship is something that we do. Just
before we continue,
yes,
you said something that, and this is what's this conversation, because you're gonna say amazing things, and I'm going to say, what do you mean by that?
Yes,
you said that African women seemingly overwhelmingly own that space.
Yes.
Why?
Because I don't know whether it's because, we take care of the children, and oftentimes we want to stay committed to raising the kids, so we have a side hustle. So we may not build big businesses, but we have businesses, and there are lots of women who own small, medium-scale businesses. The thing is, we don't scale those businesses. We don't put systems in those businesses. They're not sufficient structure when we scale, and there's no succession planning. And without succession planning, you can't actually build an institution, because to build an institution, you first of all have to have built a structured business that has the capacity to thrive without the current operators. This is what we don't have. I'll start by talking about how when I was growing up, I love brands. So when I am in the car, I will be reading signage on the streets. I would recite brand colors. I love the adverts. There was a particular soft drink brand, what you guys will call, some people call soda.
Fanta
in Kigali. It was called Tandigorana. It was a local brand that was manufactured by by a Nigerian. And we loved the advert as kids. So the minute the advert comes out, the kids rush out of the bedroom to dance in the living room, just listening to the ad. So we love the ad, but we also love the drink. But I look back, I started building my business, and I didn't see Tandigorana any longer. It was no longer in the market. It was no longer on the shelves, but Coca-Cola was still on the shelves. I didn't see Gold Spot any longer, but the Fanta was still on the shelves. I didn't see Limca any longer, but Sprite was still on the shelves.
And those are
local brands.
Local brands.
They were local brands in Nigeria. And not just this soft drink brand, there were other brands. In 1954, Time magazine did a feature. And in the feature, they highlighted African entrepreneurs that were millionaires. They had founded businesses, they had built businesses in finance, in the finance space, the financial sector space, they had built businesses in manufacturing. When I looked at that feature, and I looked at the millionaires who were featured in that magazine, their businesses hardly ever existed. The question is, their equivalent still existed. And for me, the question was why? And I became very passionate about, as I was building my business, I didn't want it to be a business that when I'm 60, when I'm 70, when I'm 80, 90 years old, it won't be about, there was a Tandigorana and now it doesn't exist anymore. There was a House of Tara and doesn't exist anymore. So my focus has really been, how do I build a business that is not just founder dependent, but a systems dependent, so that if I'm no longer in the business or any of the current operators are no longer present, the business will continue to sustain.
So, but let's talk about, and we will talk about how businesses sustain themselves.
Yes.
But starting a business there's a dream.
Correct.
And there's the implementation of that dream.
Absolutely.
You told me earlier when we were speaking off camera that your business did not start at where it was. Walk us through that.
So I started as a bridal makeup artist.
Okay.
And what that
As a student.
I was studying law at the university in Lagos, and I had this skill. As a law student, we had law dinners, and law dinners were opportunities for law students to kind of dress up once every semester, and there was a very well celebrated event for law students. I did my makeup quite well, and my classmates would just say, please could you do my makeup for me for the law dinner? I got the idea to start charging them for it, and I did, and it was interesting that people were willing to pay. It was not just interesting that they were willing to pay, they were asking even when I was charging. The question for me was, how could I scale this? And the idea came to me that my next customer should be a bride, somebody who's getting married, who was celebrating something significant, not just a law dinner. I was fortunate enough, I had a friend who said, I know someone who's getting married and they are looking for someone to help them with dressing. And I said to them, there is a young lady who does makeup. And would you be interested in having her? So I was lucky, connected with the bride. Her wedding was very well celebrated because she was the daughter of the chief of naval staff. At the time, Nigeria was under a military government. And what that meant was...
That's what, 26 years ago?
26 years ago, which meant that he was almost like the second in command or like a vice president or the head of Senate. So it was a huge, well-celebrated wedding. And I was also fortunate enough that her bridal train were young people who were just graduating from university. So I had a long list of new customers. The minute that happened, there was a little bit of a breakthrough because it was unusual. It was novel. And people were interested in being part of this new thing, this makeup of a thing. But we grew from being a makeup artist, and then I realized that people were also interested in products. And the interest didn't come because they told me they were interested. It was because I saw a potential opportunity to start my own line of cosmetics.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do you remember, because you spoke, when we were chatting before, I asked you, do you remember what you got paid for that?
Yes, 1,500 naira.
For
The very first person to pay me paid me 1,500 naira. But this bride that I had paid me 2,500 naira. But there was 2,000 for multiple days.
Wow.
At the end of the day, it came to about 15,000 naira.
And at the time, of course, if you think about what the naira is today, it's not a lot of money, but that time it must have been.
Yes. It was actually the entire amount that I started. I bought my kit with. I got paid my very first job paid me the amount I invested, my original capital, one event.
Wow.
So I realized that there was huge potential here. But the question is, would I always get the chief of naval staff's daughter? I'm not sure, but let's take a try. So that's where we are.
And then you built that to whatever it is today.
Yes.
So, but it's still one of the things with successful, talented people is that they rest on their laurels. I've seen, makeup artists exist wherever there will be people who want to be pretty.
Correct.
We have amazing makeup artists here, but we don't have a house of Tara.
Correct.
I want to understand your brain makeup, your brain chemistry. Why the jump from service provider, which is what fundamentally you were, to I own that industrial process.
Yes.
I own the things that will make me money.
Correct.
Long term.
Yes.
Where did that jump come from? Why that jump?
I think as an entrepreneur, as you build, there's a bit of boredom that you could have. I think that entrepreneurs have it. There's a boredom syndrome where after a while you're like, what's next? And I think that what's next drives you to seek for more. In other cases, sometimes if you're a present product or service provider, you start to pick up what your customers' needs are. In my case, I had a school. I started to train people who were becoming makeup artists. And the reason why was because as a makeup artist, when I went to a home to serve a bride, her cousin, her sister, a friend will be like, I love this thing that you do. I think I can do it, but can you train me to do it? And then I opened a school. But when I started to train my students, they needed tools.
Yes.
And there were no tools because, it was a nascent industry. It didn't exist. So I created my first makeup brushes with my name.
From what? Where did you buy them?
I couldn't buy them because they were very, very expensive. And at the time, the people who were my students couldn't afford pounds to buy makeup brushes from London. It was expensive. But I got the chance to meet an Indian couple in Nigeria who were importers of shoes. And I shared with them my dream. But they couldn't serve me because my business idea was new and it was also a small idea. But there was a young man who was Chinese, who was serving the drinks and had come to Nigeria as a translator. So he studied English in China. This business owners gave him an opportunity to come to Nigeria, work with them for a year. I helped them in translating because they were interacting with Nigerians. And then after 1 year, he'll go back home. But he gave him the chance to practice his English. So it's very interesting. His English, he's Chinese, but he sounds Nigerian. His English sounds like an Igbo man, right? And so I met him and he said to me, I'm going back to my home country. the size of the business that you want to do is too small for, these are big players.
Yeah, these
Can
are
I-
rich men.
Yes. Can I help you? And I said, why not? So he asked me, what did I want? I said, I wanted makeup brushes. And I explained to him what I was looking for. And he said, I used to work in factories as a student, and I can find a factory in China that can help. And so he went and did samples. Sani, if you see how I was the first time the samples came, I didn't sleep.
Wow.
I don't know how you felt the first time you bought a car,
Mm.
where in the middle of the night, you wake up to just peep in the window. Is the car still there?
Is it mine?
Is it mine? Because now it was branded, it had my name on it, and it was beautiful, lush, faux pearl leather and orange with my logo embossed on it. Ooh.
So what
the
was in
feeling.
that kit? Walk me through. Listen, I know just how annoying it is when, just in the middle of a really interesting conversation on YouTube, an ad appears. That frustration is why we've created the long-form Patreon. For just $4 a month, you can enjoy ad-free listening, early access to conversations a full day before they're publicly released, and you're directly supporting the work that we do here. Every episode takes time, research, and sometimes plane tickets. We don't do it for money. We do it because we genuinely believe in sharing stories and conversations that matter. If you want to be part of that journey, you can join the long-form Patreon by scanning the QR code that you can see right now on the screen, or using the link in the description. And if membership is too much of an investment, you can still support us by making a one-time donation via our MTN Momo using the code registered under LF Media 95462. Thank you so much for believing in what we do. Here's a question. What are your secrets worth? And how far will you go to protect them? Every day, tens of thousands of hacked credentials for emails, social media, and other services are bought and sold on the dark web, all without victims suspecting a thing. If you're like me and desire some peace of mind, Threat Informant is for you. Built by Shield Tech Hub, a cybersecurity company, Threat Informant is a dark web monitoring online solution that allows you to search the deep web for hidden markets, detect your leaked data, and react before any damage is done. And here is the best part. It's available for government agencies, businesses, and individuals like myself. It's simple. If your data is out there, Threat Informant will let you know. So take control of your digital safety today and scan the QR code that you can see on your screen, or click the link in the description to sign yourself and your entire organization up. You cannot protect yourself if you don't know you're under threat. Get Threat Informant today.
It was just 12 set of makeup brushes. And I'm hoping that we'll find the picture to put on the screen when this is being edited. It was powder brushes, eyeshadow brushes, lipstick brushes. You just open this beautiful leather pouch and it had 12 brushes with my name written on each one of them.
Wow.
That's how we launched our first product line.
And the money came from?
From the service. So as I was applying makeup for people, I reinvested back into the business. And then it was from there that I was able to do the first sample. Okay. But I tell you what is interesting. I did a formal launch of the brushes in my studio. I had a makeup studio, a small makeup studio. I invited people, but I didn't tell people what it was. There was a suspense around the marketing of this event. There's something I'm unveiling. When my friends and family and customers came, they actually thought it was lipstick, eyeshadows, powders. That's the expectation that they had of me. I was surprised because I didn't think that Nigerian women will buy a local brand. I thought they would only buy an international brand. And so that made me know that there was a potential. And this is the thing I was talking about as when we're relating with our customers, after a while, sometimes we're bored or we start getting intel from our customers as we serve them on a daily basis. So that reaction gave me an intel that I could actually start a full-blown makeup line. That's lipstick, eyeshadows. So I launched the brushes, but I had it behind my mind that the next thing was the makeup.
Do you remember
products.
what each makeup kit was worth? How much you sold it for? Because you said something earlier whereas your students could not afford the things from the UK. And
Yes,
this, right? So
yes.
it had to be,
The price point
the
had
price
to
point
be,
had to be
yes,
quite good.
Yes, yes. It was, but I don't remember that. I would find out.
It was affordable though.
No, it had to be affordable. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to buy it. But there were also too few the customers because there were too few the students. And in China, you had to manufacture numbers. So they asked me, maybe I couldn't only, I couldn't do less than 250 pieces. But my students were only like 10, 15.
So what did you do with the rest?
I had to sell them to consumers.
Yeah.
So what I did was to train my regular customers how to use brushes to apply makeup. So even though they were not professionals and they were not professional makeup artists, I convinced them that they could use the brushes on themselves. Today, it is now standard that women use brushes. At the time, it wasn't standard.
What were they
Women
using?
They were applicators. So each brand will create an applicator in the kit and use. But you see, I convinced them that brushes also give you the ability to give you precision in your application, and taught the women. And after a while, I could sell 250 brushes, not with only professionals, but with the regular consumers on a day-to-day basis.
That is the one thing that I've seen in my short life is that if you want to scale a business, understand that the female dollar or the female franc or the female naira is super important.
Yes.
If you can sell to women.
Yes. You're likely to make a lot of money.
You
First
were-
of all, we determine what the house spend is, what the house spend is for. So I definitely it's when you walk into malls and they strategically make sure that the male shops are behind because they're like, we don't need you guys.
No, seriously, I have shoes that I've had for 15 years, and I'll never buy new ones. It's interesting. Let's now talk about the thing that you have almost become a prophet of, which is business survival, legacy business.
Correct.
Now, being brutally honest, right? Removing the kind words that very often, sometimes you'll try to, when they talk about giving bitter medicine with a bit of honey.
The sandwiching.
Sometimes that's what you'll do. But here on the long form, we try to give it as it is. What is it about our African businesses that cannot outlive a founder?
There are a few things. Number one, we're not building leaders. We're not raising leaders as we're building our businesses. Number two, we're not building systems.
Why?
I think entrepreneurship can make you very selfish because you're thinking of raising money for your family. You're thinking of being rich so that you can pay the rent, so that you can live the lifestyle that you desire. So that could give you a blind spot around the importance of raising leaders who can take over from you, who can build with you. We also don't build systems. And I often when I give keynotes, I'll ask in the audience, how many of you in this room can cook a stew, like your mom's stew, to make it taste or smell exactly like your mom's? And oftentimes in the room, maybe only less than 1% will raise their hands. And the question is, how is it that we don't know how to make our mother's stews? Because we're not taught how to cook with measurements. And it's the same thing that when we build businesses, we don't document our processes. We don't have standard operating procedures on how things are done. I remember teaching my son to cook, and he asked me at some point, Mom, so how do I know it's done? And I said, you just know. And the minute I said that, the look on his face, you could tell, you're kidding. Like, is that I just know? I said, yes, but I realized that's not the right thing to say, but that's also how I was trained in cooking. And this is the reason why we don't have brands that can be replicated over time. We don't codify the processes that deliver the particular outcome we want to see. So we don't raise leaders as well as we should. We don't build systems. We don't prepare for our transition. It's the same way we don't write wills, right? You talk to an African man.
Yes, because then What do you mean I might die?
Die, yes. But death is part of life. No one is going to live here forever. As long as there's life, there will also be death. Right? But we also don't prepare for our transitions. And transitions could be that you fall ill. You're a business owner, but then you fall ill, you have a terminal illness. Should your business die because of that reason? We don't prepare for transitions because also our lives are transitional. We go through quarter life crisis, we go to midlife crisis, we become old. Those are transitions. We don't prepare for those transitions. And because we don't prepare for the transitions, it's difficult for the business to continue. So these are some of the things that I think that as entrepreneurs, we need to fix. We need to raise leaders. We need to build systems. We need to prepare for transition. But we also have to see our lives outside of the business that we build. That we are more than the businesses that were built. Our life's mission is more than my life
Making
mission.
money.
Is more than House of Tara.
But I hear what you're saying. And I'm also trying to create a business here. But I guess you've talked about raising leaders and creating systems.
Correct.
But
And
very
preparing
often-
for transition.
Right. But very often in Africa, it's hard to have standard operating procedures because of some things are known but cannot be said. If, for example, part of it is that you need to give someone a little bit of something in the import or export department for your goods to reach market. When sometimes I wonder, in the West, they don't have to worry about a military coup.
Yes.
You started your business
Yes.
under Sani Abacha's government.
Correct.
How do you plan
For that.
for these kind of things?
Yes.
How do you plan for
Yes.
roads being washed away?
Yes.
How do you plan?
Yes.
Like sometimes I feel
Yeah.
I feel really sorry for pioneers because sometimes you don't even know we have quote unquote successful businesses, but very often they're just your head is just above water. There's no standard operating procedure. And so when you're talking to, I'm interested in hearing this. So when you're sitting in or standing in front of business leaders and saying, you guys need to do X, Y, and Z, and they tell you, listen, I work in DRC, the government, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Sometimes they do this. How am I supposed to create these systems? Or if I start trying to create leadership, but whenever I bring someone up,
They leave.
they leave, and then steal all the company secrets
Correct.
on top of that.
Correct.
What do you tell them?
So that's, I think that's brilliant. And we could only have this conversation as Africans. And I totally love that. I love the fact that you referenced the kickbacks, for example. To be honest with you, when I was talking about systems, I meant the things that we do on a daily basis that delivers the outcomes that our customers like. So we take this bottle, for example. There is a reason why you bought it.
Yes.
There's the content, there's the branding, there's maybe who's behind it, and you buy it for that reason. As the owner of this brand, I have to identify what are the things that make you buy it, and then document, codify them. Those are standards. But of course, there's a place for innovation, right? So as we go along, there's some evolution. Maybe we change the container later on. We make it bottle because we're trying to keep the safety and what have you. This is what I mean by codifying. There are other issues like the core risk of running businesses on the continent, where there is issues around corruption, there's issues about kickbacks and the likes. And I remember we were having a builders forum in Uganda, and I recall a second-generation business owner talking about how his father didn't reveal to him all the things that he did to keep the lights on in the business. For example, what they call PR, right? And he wasn't aware.
What's PR?
PR is kickbacks. PR is you settle this person and that person and the other. And he believes that no matter as we hand over businesses to our children, to continue, we have to be transparent enough to let them know what we're doing. In my case, I was very big on no bribe as a culture in House of Tara. It didn't matter what it was. we were not going to do business with whoever. And it didn't matter what we lost. And the reason why is part of...
Did you lose anything?
Of course. There were opportunities that we could have, for example, giving this or that in certain places. And because we made a choice not to do that, we didn't get those transactions. And we as Africans have to also agree that we must have our own culture as a business and say to ourselves, our business is a nation building business, and therefore we're not going to contribute to the constructing of an honest way of doing business. So I do agree that could be a big challenge, that you may not, these are your exes in business. And I think that happens anywhere in the world. We think about the US today. If anybody had told the US that Donald Trump will come and, for example, disassemble USAID, nobody would have believed that was possible, right? So there will always be exes. There will be always those parts of business and that we cannot make allowance for. But they are the predictables. The predictables are, this product is a great product. We love it for A, B, C reason. That reason has to be something that we create into a set of processes that delivers the outcomes that our customers like. And that is, for me, what systems is. Let's talk about raising leaders.
Now, I actually want to talk about, again, there's a context to this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here having this conversation in Kigali,
Yes.
East Africa.
Yeah.
When you think about East African companies that have stood the test of time, companies that are 50, 60 years old,
Correct.
unfortunately, very few
Yes.
are indigenous.
Yes. They're often
Indians.
correct.
Yes, those Indians have been naturalized as Ugandans,
In some countries,
Kenyans,
yes.
but
Yes.
they do not look like us. So then I asked myself, okay, these Indian families that maybe came in the 1900s,
Hundreds. Yeah.
they've dealt with the very same political challenges, economic
Correct.
challenges.
Yes.
And in fact, they've probably even had to work even harder
Yes.
because they're outliers sometimes.
Correct.
But they've been able to build
Businesses,
companies where it's the
multi-generational.
third generation.
Multi-generational.
Each one is building on the other one.
Correct.
Because I've also seen sometimes
Yes.
that with even some of these businesses that say survive the founder,
Yes.
they don't last the third generation after,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they often say that the first one builds,
Yes.
the second one grows,
Yes.
the third one squanders.
Mm.
I guess, unfortunately for us, we've not even hit
We've
the
not
second
even
and the
no,
third. We
we
haven't
haven't
been even
no,
given ourselves a chance to
no.
squander.
Yes. Yes.
But let's talk about culture.
Mm.
Where does culture fit in business survival, business continuity, generation onto generation? What are we doing wrong as an African culture? What are we doing right as an African culture? Because I don't think we're 100% bad.
No, we're not. But you see, that's why I go back to raising leaders, for example. So with the Indians, what you find is that they carry the children along, and the children are a part of it. They're part of the business. We're sitting at a table and we're talking about how much money was generated in the business, what we're doing, so the children are aware of it. And then by the time they're going off to college, not just as newbies. They're going off to college as children who were raised in a business, and they're going to college to come back to build what was given to them. And I think we weren't doing enough of that.
Why?
In terms of raising our children I think we were more focused on raising children to study medicine, study engineering, and it's like you have to go and get an education to be a professional, right? Whereas these guys are saying, get an education so that you can come back and build on what
Which
we
is
built.
also strange, a bit strange, because the father that has afforded these school fees in Harvard and Oxford is an entrepreneur.
Correct.
So you're sending your son with
Yes.
your hard-earned
Yes,
money
to go and become a doctor.
to go and become...
Yes. Because you kind of feel, I think you feel like, these are uncertain times. With being a doctor, that's certain. That is being an engineer. It's like when you leave school, there will be a job for you, right? As opposed to there is the whole world of opportunity with entrepreneurship, and we're not seeing that. So you go into an Indian store, for example, and you already see that the children are a part of
No,
what is
there are
going on.
literally 3 generations in the
Yes.
store. There's the grandpa,
Correct.
there's the dad,
That is it.
and then the kids now probably in the
so that's raising. That's
and
in
there's
terms
probably
of-
an uncle as well.
Correct. So that's raising leaders, and we haven't done that well. And then I'm talking about systems, right? So when you go to the store, for example, it's the same thing. If you close your eyes and you walk and they put you in that store and they ask you where you are, you can almost tell by the movements. It's predictability. They open at a particular time. These are the things that they sell. This is the price point. This is who they are serving. There is clarity around that. That's the reason why you can go back to that store consistently. That's what I mean by building systems. So the children are exposed and they're raising them to make decisions in the business, but they're also raising them to see the systems that are being built. But also they have also told them that there is a big mission. This is family. This is generational. This is our investment. They are taught to believe it over and over again. And I go back to our recipes. Our mother's recipes are not codified. They are not replicated. We're not taught with the recipes. We were taught how to make it without the measurements. And that culture needs to change in even how we operate businesses.
Again, you're talking and I'm just thinking, just trying to understand the psychology of some of these business owners that have created these things, but I wonder how much of it is just the idea of the future is not certain. Because for me to think 3 years, 30 years, 100 years, there has to be a certain level of certainty.
Belief.
In the future.
Belief in the
future of the place.
Yes.
And I mean, if you look at us in East Africa, other than Kenya, Kenya is the only country that has not dealt with any civil or foreign conflict.
Oh, really?
Yes, Tanzania, it was invaded by Uganda in 1979.
Okay.
Idi Amin, the famous Idi Amin, that's how he ended up being ousted. It's because he woke up one day and he said, "Hey, I want to invade Tanzania." Yes. Uganda has just been at peace for maybe maximum 20 years. Rwanda has been at peace maybe since, give or take, about 2000. So I sometimes wonder about our psychology. You know, are we just victims of our past?
Yes, you are correct. You're totally correct. I mean, I think about our own children now, and we are nation builders. My husband and I. My husband was in politics, ran for the president of Nigeria. So we are people who are very passionate about the country. But now our children are older, and we are now beginning to think around, is it safe? We're talking about, we spent most of our years working on building Nigeria. As a couple, separately, even when I was building House of Tara, I built it with the intention of helping to solve unemployment issues in the country. My husband the same. But to think of us as nation builders, and today, when it's now the turn of our own children, we're saying, and I remember there was a protest going on in Lagos.
Is it the NSARS?
NSARS. So now, during NSARS, my children are older now, right? And we were the ones who were the equivalent of what those kids were doing 10 years before. We're the ones who were going out, talking to the government, agitating, right? So now, this time, we're not the ones going out. We're the ones at home. And our children or our nephews were going out. And we wanted to stop them. We were saying, it's not safe. We were saying, and I couldn't believe that I was the one who was now, the one who was saying, no, you shouldn't be, it's not safe. I don't want you to get into trouble. And you are correct. When it's now our children, our voices begin to change. So I do believe that we're probably, suffering from some kind of PTSD.
Trauma.
Yes.
And and
you're correct.
Because, I came to Rwanda for the very first time in 1994, right? So it was just about 6 months after the genocide against the Tutsi had ended. And there's during that time, a lot of people were not sure. You know, they were not sure about the future. You know, it was, ooh, you just never know. And I do wonder what that kind of
The implications
trauma,
of that. Yes.
what it does.
Yes. In the
to
long term.
people.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's only now, the
Yes.
last, I think, as someone who's lived in Kigali,
Yes.
it's only now where we're starting to actually see capital, because people always had money, but you couldn't really see the money
Because we're not, like, we have to keep it.
because it had to be it just in case we have to run.
Oh my gosh.
Right? You want to keep it, you want to
Yes.
make sure you're very liquid.
Yes.
Because putting a factory, you can't leave.
Oof.
Building a hotel,
Yes. That's too
a
much
major
investment.
business. That's
yes.
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 A farm that's
Yes.
not just of
Yes.
maize. You know,
Yes.
maize,
Yes.
it's 6 months.
Correct.
And then you harvest.
Yes.
So you make coffee, macadamia that needs 10 years to get. It's a different mindset.
Long term, which is the reason why you'd have the foreigners more vested in those industries
Yes.
more than us.
Because we have a certain level of trauma.
But you know what I would say about this? I would say we need to become conscious of this subconscious, that there is a trauma that we have to come to terms with. The reason why we will not fix it is because it's still in our subconscious. Like now having this conversation with you, I have to go back and ask myself, because we're talking about NSAS, right? And now I'm talking about, should the children be a part of? Because now it's like, our children should be protected as opposed to go out and protest and talk about these things. So I'm hoping that when we leave here, and those who are listening to us who are also Africans will recognize that there is a PTSD, there's some trauma, and address the trauma, because it may be in our subconscious, and as long as it's in our subconscious, we would never fix it. Yeah.
You said something, and listen, that's the thing with these kind of conversations with me. I listen, and I will then start unpacking that. You said that your husband ran. You just kind of slipped it in. So your husband ran for what?
The president of Nigeria.
Not the president of the company, the president of the
actual Nigeria. Yes. He ran as a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
Yes, during in 2019.
Wow.
Yes.
That's 7 years ago?
That's right.
There's a cost to these things.
For sure.
What was the cost to you?
Many things, many things. Number one, it forced me to become less altruistic. To run to be president of Nigeria, obviously, my husband had a huge following among young people. He was a very strong voice on teaching values.
What's his name?
Fela-Durotoye. He went on campuses to teaching young people about values, about nation building. He created a vision of a new Nigeria that was possible. And so over the course of, let's say, 10 to 15 years, using his own resources, he was doing this. So he had a huge following on Facebook, had a huge following on Twitter, and he was a consultant by day, but by night, he was this person who was passionate about nation building. And so we designed our lifestyle in a way that as much as we made money, we constantly were thinking about how do we build a new Nigeria? And he created a vision around 2025 that Nigeria will become one of the most sought after countries in the world. He created that vision. He's very eloquent. He was very inspirational. And he put his money behind his words, and at some point decided that he wanted to run for office. You know, he'd done a lot of work at the grassroots with students, and he felt like, okay, now it's time to go beyond that, because you can't really fix if you're not in politics as much as you can. So he went into that. What it did to us was make us realize that it wasn't as easy. And
Talk about it.
Yeah. So, you know, when we were using our own resources to go on campuses and talk to students and let them believe in a new Nigeria, it was within our control. It was our words, it was our money, it was our credibility, it was our passion. And I think that gives you a sense of power, victory. No one is stopping you. But when you go into politics, it's a different ballgame. And I think we took that altruistic mindset into politics and decided that we didn't want to be part of any established parties. We were part of a new party that didn't exist prior. We were also newbies. We were not part of any political structure prior to running for office. We didn't have a political godfather or a community behind us. What we had was our following and those who we had raised through all the platforms of nation building. After the election, we realized that
Politics is not for you?
not that it's not for us, but it's not the way we thought it was. It was different. And I think that's one. And two, I think...
No. Before
yes,
you go.
yes.
So when you say that politics, because I'm a bit of a political animal. Like I
Okay.
actually like to understand these
Yes,
things. So when you say that politics, the way it was done was difficult
Yes. Yeah.
for you guys to navigate or want to be a part of.
Yes.
What was that? What do you mean by that?
So first of all, you have to, it seemed to us, and this is the current situation that still exists even long after he ran for office, is that there are two political parties. And those two political parties, without those parties, you can't seem to navigate the political arena properly. Either you are a part of this political party or that political party. We decided we didn't want to be part of any of those because we believe that the kind of leadership that we wanted to promote, the kind of values that we wanted to promote, or that we already live, doesn't sit well with the current values of any of those parties. The challenge with creating a new party is that in the minds of the people who you want to lead, there are only two parties. So no matter how visionary you are,
people might not believe
it's possible
that you can even win.
Yes. So the challenge is that the people want you to win. So if you do a poll and you ask people, put these three people here, who's the most loved? They can point to Fela-Durotoye. Who's the most respected? They can point to Fela-Durotoye. Do you think he'll win? No. So you have people who make a decision on the day of elections to sit and not vote because the person who they want to win cannot win. So they anticipate in advance that the person that they want to be president cannot win. And on account of that, they don't even go out to vote.
That must be so frustrating.
Incredibly and disappointing, especially when you've invested in building the minds of people to believe otherwise. So we had a set of values. We taught a whole generation of young people. When it was time for them to become people who had political will and not political will, people who could vote, they'd reached the age of voting, moments to make decisions, they were more comfortable with just watching to see what would happen. Like as though some miracle would make the person they support to become president, as opposed to we are the ones that make that person successful.
You know, and what I think is really interesting for me is hearing, because I do think that there's a connection between your experience in the politics of it and what we're also discussing, which is business survival.
Correct.
It's not about necessarily the material itself. It's a mindset.
Correct.
It's a mind state.
Yes.
Do I believe that this will be like this?
Do I believe this business
This will because sometimes I don't think that we believe in our own success. That maybe it will work for me, but I don't really fundamentally think.
So therefore, I can't really involve my children because my children
this
are
business.
Will it be?
Will it survive?
Hey, and will this government will there be a coup? Will this
So maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're tired of working hard but never getting ahead financially, you need to start listening to the Money Blueprint podcast hosted by Isaac Musi. The Money Blueprint podcast isn't a get-rich-quick show. Isaac Musi, an expert in financial literacy with over 15 years of experience, shares practical tools that help you build discipline, make better decisions, and create real wealth. Out every Monday, the Money Blueprint podcast with Isaac Musi is on YouTube and all major audio platforms.
This podcast is brought to you by LF Media, home of great African podcasts.
If you are trying your best to raise healthy children, but feel like you need clear, trustworthy advice, Healthy Beginnings podcast, hosted by Dr. Edgar Kalimba, is for you. With over a decade of experience caring for children and supporting the parents raising them, Dr. Edgar Kalimba shares practical knowledge grounded in science, but rooted in the lived experience of Africans. Out every Monday, Healthy Beginnings with Dr. Edgar Kalimba is on YouTube and all major audio platforms.
This podcast is brought to you by LF Media, home of great African podcasts.
It's a tough one because a lot of things begin and end in the mind.
Correct.
Because what do they always say about Africa? Africa has everything. It has the people, it has the minerals, it has the wealth.
Yes.
But there's always something. And I always think about it's always something to do with the mind versus a physical thing.
Yes.
Would have been interesting though for you to become first lady. What do you think you would have done differently? What would you have pushed?
There are too many things. Number one, I would have been the first lady who would have built an entire ecosystem, an industry before becoming first lady. So if I'd become first lady, I would have become first lady after I had built House of Tara, and I was already well known as someone who started this iconic brand. Because many of our first ladies, were people who came to limelight after their husbands became presidents. In my case, I already had a strong brand, personal brand. I was already well known, so it would be different. And therefore, I would have stood for many other things. For example, I think more women would have wanted to go into scalable entrepreneurship, not just micro businesses, because the minute you are in that position, you become a reference point, you can easily become more of a role model. So I was already a role model, but I think that would have been amplified. I think the conversations around women empowerment would have been much stronger because I was someone who's a woman, who's achieved, and so my voice would be more credible in some of the issues that women struggle today with, whether in politics or even in commercial, in business, in the business space as well. I think that even with younger girls, the ones in primary school and secondary school, we would have seen more of them wanting to become entrepreneurs because this is an example of someone who's visible. So I do believe
there's something interesting about you is you've created your own path. You've built your own name. One of the things that when you talk to young women is the idea that you are enough, that you can build rather than just to receive. Let's talk about this. You, by the choices that you made and who you fell in love with and who fell in love with you, you were fortunate enough to marry someone who's quite successful. There are some people who would say you've hit a home run. Sit back and enjoy. Why didn't you? You could have, right?
Yes, for sure. For sure. But I'll tell you two things. Number one, first of all, I'm a Christian and I'm an active believer. And my provider is not my husband. My provider is God who created me. So I'm very conscious of who I place in that role. Now, God can use my husband to provide, but he's not my provider. And it's things I also share with younger women as well. No one is your provider and no one is your source. Not even your business is your source. Your source is the Almighty who created you. So that's a mindset that I have. So my husband having is an additional, he's a tool, he's a funnel, he's an access, but he's not my provider. And I think that's very important. Number two, there is a sense of accomplishment that nothing can give to you except something that you build from scratch that delivers for you. I remember the first time I wanted to buy a car after I got married. My husband had changed my car every year. So I decided I was going to buy a car. And the question from him was, why do you need to buy a car?
For yourself.
Like, why? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you have this, you have that. And I couldn't articulate what it was at the time. But I think that as the years went by, I was able to find the words. And it was something that meant I worked, I generated income myself, and I was able to use that income to buy something that I wanted. It gives you a sense of fulfillment that no one else can. And I feel like every girl has to have that experience of starting something, building it, and allowing it to be profitable enough for you to be able to buy what you want. And lastly, there is a sense of respect and honor that a woman has when she's accomplished. And that no matter how successful your husband is, you add to his name, you add to his prestige because of who you are. So when they do a search on Google for my husband's name, there's a point where you can almost not tell who's who, because as much as my husband's name is all over Google, my name is all over Google, it makes him feel good that this is the woman who has added to my name and I have added to her name. And I think that gives you a sense of accomplishment, but for him as well, and for your children. As women, we are the ones who raise our children primarily. And when we do that, and we're successful and we build, our children see the example, especially our daughters. Our sons also see what is possible. So when they have wives who are ambitious, they're not threatened by that because that's what they're accustomed to. My son said to me recently, he said, Mom, I see that you're doing a tour in East Africa, and I think I take it for granted the amazing things that you do because you've made it look normal. So to me, it's not extraordinary. I almost feel like when people say to me, oh, your mom has written a book that's a bestseller, it's almost like, well, that's my mom. Like, she always does amazing things.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she just does amazing things. And he said, I'm calling myself out on this because you've made it look so easy. That's why we've taken it for granted. And I think I want us to appreciate you more for these things. What that means is if my son marries an ambitious girl, he's not going to be threatened by it because it's normal. That's what he saw growing up. That's what he's accustomed to. And I think these are the things that are important. Let's, first of all, remember that no man is our source. Our husbands are not our source. Our boyfriends are not our source. The Almighty God is our source, so that we don't become idol worshippers. I think it's also important that as women, there is a sense of accomplishment that we get when we build, sustain, and from the fruit of our hands, we can buy things that we desire. It's beautiful. Then we can add to our families. We can add to the things that our husbands do. We can add to his name because of our own accomplishments. But lastly, we can also be an example to our children, whether male or female, so that we can have equality in the world, because our boys now see mothers, see their wives as ambitious, and they appreciate that because they're used to it. Our daughters can see the example that we set and can also become successful women.
Let me ask you.
That was a whole masterclass class right
Amazing.
there. You missed the chance to clap.
Done. So when you think about the most successful businesses in Africa, the most successful entrepreneurs in Africa, top 20, there's one country that dominates, and it's the country that you call home. I would like to ask, is it because Nigerians are naturally entrepreneurial, or have they simply been forced by history, by politics, by, cultural, their cultural norms to become really, really good at business? And further along, what can East Africans learn about doing business from Nigerian business culture?
I think it's cultural. Being entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. Invested in real estate. My husband teases.
That's amazing.
Yeah. In 1910, he built the first story building in my hometown. And his tenants were Chelarams, were Indians who have been in the country for more than 100 years.
You said when?
Chelarams in
No,
1910.
1910.
1910.
Now, let me, just to give context before you continue.
Okay.
In Rwanda, in 1910, we did not have a single storied building.
Oh, wow.
The whole country. But please continue.
Okay. So in 1910, and the builders were Brazilians that built that house. He named it the Pacific House, and the house is still standing today. He had interest in real estate, spent a lot of investment in building shops, commercial shops in markets, and my hometown. Now, my hometown was a port at the time. It's no longer a port, but it was a port at the time. And majority of his tenants were traders, but particularly Indians. So we had shops that when you go to those buildings today, you see the name Chelarams, for example, chiseled in the blocks because they were anchor tenants who didn't create, they weren't signages, but the name was chiseled in the blocks. So you can see the size of the business that he owned. Now, this is what I was used to, right?
And that's where you come from.
That's where I come from. My grandmother on my father's side, on my mother's side, was very entrepreneurial. My mom was in restaurant business. She was an importer of cement. She traded in commodities. So this is what I'm accustomed to. Even in terms of investment, my default is to invest in real estate. I only recently started to diversify my investment, but I was so used to having tenants and rent because as a child, we sat at home and my father's tenants came. They shared the income in the family based on tenants. We had people who, when they describe a person, they'll say, oh, that is so-and-so. She's daddy's tenant. Oh, this is so-and-so. That's grandma's tenant. People were known because they were tenants of the family. So I do agree that that's what we're accustomed to. Dangote comes from a long line of entrepreneurs on his father and his mother's side, both successful entrepreneurship. That's what he was exposed to. So I do feel that it's a part of our culture, entrepreneurship. We don't fight against it per se. What we don't do is that we don't build institutions. So yes, we built these things to survive, but we don't design them in a way. My mom recently said to me she wished that she spent time to work on her mother's business because she had a business in another part of the country called Calabar, which was closer to Cameroon. And it was a very successful business. My mom feels like if she had gone to Calabar to help with my grandmother, that business would have been sustained. Because today I'm talking about sustainability of businesses. So I do think that. But the second thing also is that we are a people who are driven. We're very driven. We're driven because of the size of our country. When you're in a place where there's so many people, you don't want to just disappear because you are likely to disappear, right? In Nigeria, I mean, it's over 200 million people, right? There will be a desire to not want to become a non-entity. There's a desire to want to achieve. And I think that drive comes because of different reasons. Some of that is because the country hasn't worked for a long time the way we want it to work. So you feel like you have to put power in your own hand. And that's what entrepreneurship gives you. It gives you the ability to create without waiting for anyone in particular to come to your rescue. But what can East Africans learn from
that business culture?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's exposing yourself to them. My concern is that sometimes other Africans are afraid of Nigeria. So it's just like you just want to avoid them, right? As opposed to embrace and learn. Because there are many things that we can learn when we associate, when we integrate. So think about my tour now across East Africa. It's been planned by East Africans. And one of the things they say to me in their interactions is that you're such a big thinker. And my interaction with you gives me a sneak peek into why you've become successful. So I feel like when we are collaborating, we become exposed to the things that make Nigerian entrepreneurship special. And I think the fear is standing as a barrier. So I would say to East Africans, find ways to interact, find ways to do business, find ways to go into collaborations, because you can learn by association more than you can learn by just being distant.
Fantastic. No, I've been thinking about this. You know, among the things that I love is history. And when I think about, if anyone understands Nigeria and the history of Nigeria, trade and commerce has been the lifeblood of that region. Unfortunately, whether it was slave trade, which was not good, but
trading.
There's always been trading,
like
creating value, creating partnership.
Correct.
And now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how do we? Because sometimes when you think about, like, say, our local business environment here, where you maybe have a few strong names, but not really, and I'm thinking, they're just learning. We might be dealing with the very first generation of real entrepreneurs. You're telling me that your grandpa, he comes from, not just, he was a trader, but he comes from a line of traders. My grandfather was he had just cow. We had cows, right? So sometimes, when you're speaking and talking to people,
think about their context.
Yes, it's like you're talking Chinese. Yes. You're talking about, we had this and this, we had this and we had tenants.
Yes. And you take it for granted.
Yes, and very often here, especially in Rwanda, I cannot speak about, say, but even in Uganda, Kenya's a bit of an like I said, it's a bit of an outlier.
Yes.
Because of how much stability they've had. A lot of us are literally first generation. We're the first ones to maybe go to university. We're the first ones to actually have a house with brick. Not even just the very first.
My dad went to Cambridge. My dad went to Cambridge University, and he was funded by his father.
Think about that. My
uncle got disowned because his rent in England wasn't paid because my uncle spent the money. So Olumaro, who's my grandfather, funded his son to go to school in England. And he got a letter from the landlady saying that my uncle hadn't paid the rent. So imagine that my grandfather was funding.
No, maybe you know what? Maybe you're doing the wrong tour. Okay. Maybe what the tour should not be about business continuity. It's how do you even make sure that the founder business survives the founder. That very often,
yes,
right? Remember, you're talking about, okay, we've learned this over time.
Yes.
And this is how it lives 200, 300 years. We might need help. Sunny might need help.
Okay.
How do I even keep my company surviving beyond 5-10 years? Not when I'm alive.
Yes.
When I'm alive, I might be the one who kills
the business. Yes.
Because sometimes when we think about the race towards prosperity, I think there's certain people who have a step ahead. It seems to me, and that's good that we're having this conversation, and you said something that I think was super important, is don't avoid people who know more than you. No. It could be a Nigerian, it could be a Chinese, it could be an Indian, it could be a Kenyan.
Yes.
We need to stop being comfortable in our little comfort zone.
Yes. Or running away, being afraid.
Not even being afraid, just being satisfied.
Point.
Because one of the things that I've also realized is in Nigeria, you have billionaires. I don't think we have an East African billionaire. Maybe maximum one or two.
Mohammed?
Yeah.
Duaji.
And the one from Tanzania.
But is he even...
I mean, he has a Tanzanian passport, but he doesn't look like us. Let's just say his
so let's talk about
his
a
skin
Dangote
color.
and a Dangote.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
And I think even beyond the building over time, how do we... you might have to write another book.
Okay.
Teach us your ways. How do you build? Because I do think that even if we could have 10 House of Taras, that could change our lives.
Yes.
You know, if you're thinking about how many jobs you've created.
Yes. Yeah. You're totally correct. Totally correct. I think, first of all, it's a mindset of knowing that it's possible. And I think in conversing with you now, I think I've taken for granted what I was exposed to that made me believe what I believed. And one of them is the fact that I was exposed to these conversations around wealth.
Facts.
And I think I took that for granted. I took for granted that when my sister's dowry was being paid, that my father brought out my grandfather's debtors book and said, "Your great-grandfather is on my father's debtors book. There's record here that your family still owes us money." So they teased them and said, "You guys even owe us more than the dowry."
Before we give you the bride,
yes,
please
settle this right?
issue.
Yes. And these are real conversations, right, that we had. I recall my father's profile was being read at, they had recorded everyone who'd gone to Cambridge University, and they had a small bio of my dad. There was reference to the fact that he was the son of Olumaro. There was reference to the fact that there was a myth around how he became wealthy. The myth was that he was married to the goddess of the sea. I don't know if you guys have mermaids.
No.
Okay.
We don't
have water.
We have no ocean.
You have no water. Okay. So remember that my grandfather's house was called the Pacific House, which meant that it was right behind it was the Atlantic Ocean. So there was that whole myth around the fact that he was so wealthy that it couldn't have been real money, that the money came because he was married to the goddess of, and it was referenced in the Cambridge bio of my dad. And I think I took that for granted. I took that for granted when you're exposed to something. So that, I believe, gave me a sense of a faith that it is possible because of what I saw. And I think
it's in your blood.
Yes. And I think that everyone needs to now create a mirror. That even if I don't have what Tara has, how do I create something similar? How do I create a mirror of possibilities that I can see consistently? I think that's one. The two is to find a solution, is to find what is there that enough people have a problem with and enough people have the ability to pay me to solve that problem and stay committed to solving that problem. We talked about consistency earlier on when you talked about how this podcast has been around for 4 years. And I said, for 4 years, you've been trying out content? And you said, yes. And then you said to me, that's one of your gifts, consistency. That is a very important element of building business, that you have to stay consistent. Dangote has been on this journey since 1970s, right, of building consistently. Today, we hear of him as this phenomenal billionaire, right? But we forget that success compounds. And it is in the consistency that we have seen over time. What happens generally is that we start businesses and we just drop it. We have a challenge, we drop it. I had counterfeiters counterfeit my products in China.
Yeah, talk about that. Because one of the things that we'll often tell ourselves, and our president, he was speaking to a forum of the great and the good of Rwanda. And he talked about mindset shift, mindset change. And he was saying that you start from a place of, I can fix this,
as opposed
rather
to,
than this is impossible.
correct.
And this is why I can't do it.
Correct.
And he was challenging Rwandans and the government leaders who were there. There were government leaders, there were people in the private sector to change how you think.
Yes, absolutely. Changing how you think, even the same Nigerians who we are talking about as being successful entrepreneurs, remember, they are also in a country where there have been significant instability, and not necessarily in terms of wars, but economic policy, changing governments. So we've had military government and we've had civilian government, but we've also had governments that have been corrupt. We've had governments that haven't done for the country what was intended. But guess what? Regardless of those limitations, Nigerians continue to build. And so my charge to people who will say, oh, Nigerians are so, they're so successful and they're building big businesses. Remember that they also have challenges that could have stopped them, but have built in spite of. So I give the example of the fact that my products were counterfeited in China. And I went into China and somebody tried to convince me to buy Tara products.
Abo?
And because they didn't realize that I was Tara, right? And when she recognized that I was a little bit hesitant.
So who was this person? Was she Chinese?
Yes, Chinese in the markets. Who wants me to distribute Tara products?
Wait, just walk me through this.
Yes.
So you go to China.
Yes, I went to the market.
And
somebody meets me, and here's my accent. She's trying to be she wants to export a product, a good product to an African country. She recognizes me from my accent that I'm Nigerian. And she says, am I interested in Tara products? And I'm asking myself, which Tara product? She sees, but she doesn't she realizes that I'm a bit hesitant. So she's trying to convince me. It's a very good product from Nigeria. It's a very good product. It does very well in Nigeria. We even export it to, she starts to name other African countries. Now, at this time, I've recognized that my sales have dropped because distributors are clearly selling both the fake and the real.
And when you go to the market, you're seeing the product.
Yes, but the question is, where is it coming from?
And why am I not making money as I should be?
As I was. So it became clear that this is it. Somebody came here and somebody convinced them to bring the products into Nigeria. Now, what she saw was, she tried to convince me.
When was this? Was it recent?
No, like 2015. About maybe 10 years, more than 10 years ago. And she tried to convince me. Now, that challenge, it's very common among cosmetics.
I mean, even clothing.
Correct. It's very common.
There's actually a local brand. There's a local brand called House of Tayo. So it's a young man's. He's called Matthew Rugamba, and he put together a really popular T-shirt that has like Rwanda, and it looks like a football jersey.
Okay.
It's called Ijezi. And so he had put it at about 40,000 francs. That's about 40,000 naira today. And people loved it because it looked great. And it had, we're super patriotic. People loved it. And then all of a sudden, you just see it pop it everywhere.
Yeah. And this person can't afford. This person can't afford 40.
How in the hell
how can you
are
afford
you
it?
on a moto? You're a moto,
Correct.
right? But you have the shirt.
Correct.
Only to realize that someone had gone to China and just brought them in.
Yes.
And this poor guy, he had put all his blood, sweat, and tears into creating this product.
Yeah.
And now he cannot enjoy
the benefits,
the fruits of it.
Yes, that's what happened to me. Where I remembered brands when I was younger that were cosmetic brands but I thought it was because, you know what, you feel like you'll be exempted because you don't even see yourself like a big brand.
Worthy of being
copied that all the way from China, because you're like, oh, well, that happened to Mary Kay. Oh, that happened to Fashion Fair. Well, it can't happen.
It happened to Nike.
Yes, but it can't, why would it happen to me? It can't happen to me. In short, in business school, someone had come to me and said, well, you've got to prepare for this, right? The best thing for you to do is actually to go and copy your own products in China and bring it in at let the price so that you can benefit. The person said this to me in business school, and I was like, it's not likely to happen to me because why would anybody want to do that? So here I was, I saw so many cosmetic brands that have died as a result of this, because what happens is that your brand is the promise of value that you give to the consumers. The minute they start to buy the counterfeit without realizing it's counterfeit,
They'll think it's you.
yes, that's so the standards of your products have dropped, and that's how you lose out on it.
And then they'll say, we knew it. It's an African brand. Of course, it's.
So I came back to Nigeria and I decided to do what I knew. The question was, what was I going to do? I didn't have a government that was ready to fight for me, especially because I was a pioneer. And that's what I think I was entitled to, but I didn't have that. And yet again, the typical Nigerian thing to do as an entrepreneur is to make a decision to fix it yourself because you just don't wait for government. And here it was. I decided to just use my influence. So I used my social media, created awareness about it, talked to influencers. At the time, they were not called influencers, just my friends who were influential people. And we started a campaign called I Stand With Tara. And people will go into a supermarket, and if they see the fake Tara products, they take a picture, they call out the name of the store, and people will start to aggressively intimidate the owners. And that's how we saw the drop in the sales of the fake products.
But that also means that at some level, people stood with you.
Oh yeah. But this is my experience of Nigerians. Like I said to you earlier, I said on this tour, for every country that a ticket was sold, it was a Nigerian that bought the ticket first. And it's not because I knew, in Uganda, I was a Nigerian. In Rwanda, I was a Nigerian. In Tanzania, I was a Nigerian. In Kenya, I was a Nigerian. When I saw the first ticket sold in Uganda, and I saw it was a Nigerian, I had tears in my eyes. Because that's what we do. We support each other. Nigerian music, we support. Nigerian clothes. Like you hardly ever see me not wearing a Nigerian brand. This dress is Nigerian. What I wore yesterday was Nigerian. What I'm wearing tomorrow is Nigerian. We are very, very committed to our brands.
Let's talk about back to business continuity, because it's one of the things that how do you convince someone? So I've built this thing. I've built the long form podcast into Inshallah, into Africa's biggest podcast. So it's my name. It's my face. I've walked into rooms, name recognition. I walk into a restaurant, I might get quick service. Because I talk to interesting people.
Yeah.
Now, after you want me to start planning my exit. Why? Because one of the things, again, because you don't have cultures of long lines of succession, right?
Yes.
So again, I'm the very first one. My father before me was he was raised a refugee. He became a civil servant. We don't even have the history, because that's another thing. We fundamentally don't have a long history of the entrepreneurial, the business class. So finally, I'm starting to enjoy. How do you even convince someone who's starting to enjoy that making themselves replaceable is a sign of success, not a sign of failure?
You are absolutely correct. I think it's to, first of all, let people know that life will life you.
What do you mean by
what
that?
That means is that you will be 20, but you'll be 40. You'll be 40, but you'll be 60. You'll be 60, but you'll be 80. Life will life, meaning you will become older. Things will change. You'll go through cycles. You'll go through crisis. This is just life. And our responsibility is to plan for the future. Our responsibility is to plan knowing that this is possible, that you'll be 40, you'll be 50, you'll be 60, and you never really know what would happen tomorrow. So our decision to think long term, to say, I will build for the future. I will build because I want this to be here, even if I'm not here. I want this to become an asset class in my family that my children can benefit from. To do so, I have to be committed to building it solidly, which includes not being founder dependent and more systems dependent. To put aside ego and to focus on raising leaders. To decide to build a culture that is dependent on the systems, as opposed to a culture that's dependent on my whims and caprices as the founder. I know that we have not always had businesses that have been around for a long time, and now it's my turn to enjoy it. But I think the true enjoyment is when you have built to last. So let your enjoyment not be determined by short-term thinking. Let enjoyment be, I'm building this as an asset class for my family so that even if I'm not here today, my family can still benefit from this. It's a very famous scripture in the Bible that says that it's a good man that leaves an inheritance for his children's children. It's a good man that leaves an inheritance for his children's children. If we take that philosophy as entrepreneurs and decide that we want to build to last, for the long term, we build differently because we're looking for not just a business that will pay the rent, but a business that will stand as an asset class for our families in the long term.
Right now, House of Tara has a new boss.
Correct.
Is the young lady,
She's 50.
lady, is she a relative of yours?
No, she's not a relative of mine. She's a professional executive who came to run the company.
The reason I'm asking this is that when we think about a lot of African businesses, especially the ones that I've seen, when they think about succession,
yes,
it's a child.
Correct.
Now, there are two ways of going about this. And maybe I'll ask your answer on the two ways. One, if I want my children to inherit the business,
correct,
how should I approach that in a way that it will lead to a successful outcome? Because I have seen children squander
correct
everything that was built.
Correct.
And then I asked myself, was there a way that this outcome could have been avoided?
Correct.
By the founder?
Yes.
Now, there's going to be, I want you to answer that question. Then there's the other question, which is, if I choose another path, which is not a family business, how do I give my baby? How do I identify the next person, the person who should lead this company in the way that I want to?
So first of all, as if you want it to be a family business, I think it's important that you carry the children along from the get-go. I've just been a part of a 40-year-old celebration of a 40th anniversary of an indigenous maritime business in Nigeria. And if I think about the daughter who's taken over from the dad, they have a very close relationship around the business. So she was a part of what he was doing from the onset when she was of age. And I think that's very important. And that's one of the things that we see in Italian companies, the European companies, we see the Indians, is that. So if you want to do that, then the second thing is actually to raise your children well. So it's one thing for you to build with them, but it's also important that you raise them well. How much time are we spending identifying what our family vision is? I think African men need to stand up and say, what is the vision for this family, right? And they have to be man enough to communicate that vision to their wives and also to the children. Leadership is so important in how we raise our children. What are the values that determine who we are as a family? What are the values of the Fela-Durotoyes? And that needs to be taught. The children have to understand it. They have to imbibe it. When I think about my own kids, from when they were 5 4, 3, we talked about values. We talked about these are the family values. And when we correct them, we ask them, how is this in line with our family values? What is this activity that you've been engaged at? Does it support our family values? These were the things that they were taught. They were taught to be kind. And kindness was not taught because we said it. It was what we lived as parents. And so how are we raising our children in a way that it is what we want our children to be that we exemplify? Because children learn by what they see, not just by what they hear. How active are we in showing respect to others, right? In a way that our children can become respectable. How are we committed to our faith in a way that our children see that example and want to live that life? And this is important. So yes, we build our children to be entrepreneurial. We build them to be part of the business when we want them to succeed us. But we also have to raise our children properly. And it takes time, it takes effort. There is discipline that's required. Children have to know that there are consequences to things. They don't get everything they want, and there's a reason why there are rules and regulations in homes. There's a standard in which things are done. This is when we go to bed. Children need to be taught structure so that they are not disorganized. These are important roles that parents have to live and lead, right, in raising successors. But if we're going out of that, we're now going into
which is what you decided.
Yes, professionals. Number one, how admirable is your brand? So when we're building, sometimes professionals don't want to work for entrepreneurs. And the reason why is because our brands are not admirable. They don't see this company as something that they feel like if they're part of, is going to be significant. And oftentimes because entrepreneurs run their businesses as one-man show. And the reason why professionals will rather work for a KPMG than work for your indigenous accounting firm is because an indigenous KPMG has structure. The outcomes are consistent. You know, when you do this is what comes out. When you do this is the reward that you get. There's a compensation that you get. With entrepreneurs, sometimes they just decide what they want. Today, they increase salaries. Tomorrow, they do this. Next tomorrow, they fire someone just because of whatever reasons. But in a KPMG, you can't just be fired. There's a process on how to be fired. There are the things that you do that is already stated in the company policy around the things that get you fired or not get you fired. Professionals don't want to work in an environment where it's unstable, that they are not sure of. So they go to Shell because they are sure. And we haven't built our small businesses in a way that makes professionals admired and want to come. So I think that's the first thing. We have to build strong enough brands that professionals want to work for us. So when we go to them to poach them or to propose to them to come and work for us, they see a brand that they would like to be a part of. I think that's one of the very critical points. What should you be looking out for? I think look out for someone who's passionate about the vision that you've built. That was very important for me. Someone who can amplify it, take it from where you left it as a steward to amplify that. I think that's some of the few things that I think we should consider as we're seeking successors.
So let's imagine this. Okay, boom. I want you now to advise me.
Okay.
What should I be doing? So I run the long form and a small media company. Now, I want my children, I want it to outlive me.
Correct.
What are the first things I should be doing right now to ensure? Because right now it's still, I'll be lying if I said there was a standard operating procedure.
Correct.
I'm still trying to understand this new industry, especially for newer industries, right? So some of these digital industries, things are happening so as we sit, right? It's not manufacturing, it's AI, there's this happening, there's social media. Things are constantly in flux. But then how do I understand that, yes, there's flux and change. But then as I'm trying to navigate this flux and change, I should also be on the same side, creating the things that will allow this company to outlive me.
Correct.
Even if I fall sick. That if I fall sick.
Yes. People continue.
People still have jobs because I have a staff.
Yes.
They need me to perform.
Yes.
To be able to pay their rent.
Yes.
So how do I navigate these two things?
Yeah.
That one, I have to keep myself super
Agile. Yes. Because it's an industry that's just constantly moving.
right? And money is coming in, money is
Yes,
coming out, and I
yes.
just sometimes I'm
Yes,
taking
yes.
money from here to do this,
Yes,
and
yes.
but at the same side,
Yes.
trying to
yes,
create a company that
Yes.
is worthy
Yes.
of a
Yeah,
professional.
attractant. Yes. First of all, thank you for that question, and I think there are many people who will be out there who are asking that question. I think first of all, let's start with if I am a one-man show at the moment and I've just started my business and I don't have staff. I was talking about raising leaders. I think the first person to lead is yourself. Self-leadership is very important. And what are the things that I bring to the business that makes it successful? How do I fine-tune that? How do I upskill those areas? Maybe you're a good salesperson. Maybe you're a good marketing person. Fine-tune those skills and help the business to continue to grow. That is going to be very, very critical. If you now have 2 employees, 3 employees, think about raising leaders. And the simple thing is, how do I raise leaders? Oftentimes, it's about the example that you set. So people are learning by what they're watching, what they're seeing. It's about you being passionate about your vision, about this vision that you've created. Raising leaders means that you yourself have to lead yourself, and articulate your vision is one of the ways of leading yourself. Why am I doing this? Why am I passionate about this? But leaders also speak. They communicate. So you articulate what your vision is to the people who work with you. So if there are 2, there are 1. You, first of all, create the vision. A vision is a picture of the future that you see for this business. You communicate that to the 2 people that are working with you. You articulate it to the people that are working with you. The third thing to do is to put a set of rules. Rules are so important. They are guardrails. They help us create boundaries. If you think about any of the religions, whether it's Islam or that it's Christianity, there are rules and there are books that help guide how we behave. As Christians, there are things we can do, there are things we cannot do. There are rituals that we partake in as Christians, the rituals that we partake in as Muslims. To any established religion, this is the reality. Our businesses should be seen that way as a religion. What are the rules? When do people come to work? When do they close? Is there predictability? When do they get paid? Is it on the 29th or is it the 1st? And how consistent are we? What do people get when they do something extraordinary? What are our compensation plan? It doesn't have to be a big textbook, but it should be documented. It should be written so that anyone who comes to work for us can read it. These are the rules. This is how we
Even if you run a business that maybe has 1 employee.
Correct, because remember, we're first of all leading ourselves. So you lead yourself also by the documentation. It's not just about them, it's also about you, because you are the staff for now. And that's why I talked about those of us who are starting and we're the only staff. Let's start by leading ourselves. Before we say we are raising leaders, let's start by leading ourselves. So what's the discipline around how we do the work that we do? How do we treat our customers? How do I treat the customers that come to me? Remember, I am the only staff now. But when I now have 2, remember, because there is already a structure, the second staff comes to benefit from the structure that I've designed for yourself. The third staff comes to benefit from the rules that we've already created. And this is very important because, go back to religion. We know, based on this religion, that we don't cover our hair or we cover our hair. So at House of Tara, as makeup artists, they were instructed that this is what you wear to every shop floor. And there's a reason why you dress this way. This is the sort of hairstyles that predictability helps people know what they should expect and what not to expect. And oftentimes when people have expectations that are consistent, they feel more at ease. It's one of the reasons why they go and work for more established companies, because there's predictability. And people don't like unpredictability. And sometimes entrepreneurs do that, where you just play it by ear, as opposed to putting in structure that is consistent and intentional.
That's a master class. And I to be honest,
you
were
I will charge you.
No, because you were talking and I felt personally touched. Because what I mean is, a lot of us did not go to business school.
Correct.
Like I said, I do not come from a family of
Yes.
entrepreneurs.
Yes, civil servant.
We're civil servants, soldiers,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay. So this is new.
And some, at least my particular family.
Yes.
And then we're some pastors.
Okay.
So literally, we've never actually learned how to make money. No one taught me how to, there's no example. There's no one
Correct.
giving me a roadmap.
Yes. But you are now the example. Isn't that amazing?
And that's why sometimes hearing about the things that you're saying is super important, because again, I don't know any better.
Yes.
A lot of the times you don't actually know what you don't even know.
Correct. Until you hear it. And there's the power of exposure, right? So here we are having this conversation, and now this information is there, and there are other people who have the same background who are hearing this. And that's why long form is important.
No, 100%.
Yes.
One of the things that I wanted to ask this question, because when you think about leadership and leadership in business, unfortunately, it does seem overly masculine. The masculine traits are celebrated as, if you want to do this, is how you're supposed to do this. But Rhonda, we've seen more and more women taking up space. I'm here talking to an amazing woman right in front of me, yourself. I would like to understand this. What makes women leaders tick? What makes them, because I'm looking at it in terms of these two sexes, right? In terms of styles. So people often say that women make better leaders because they're more collaborative, emotionally intelligent, and resilient. Do you agree? Or are we just stereotyping again?
I think it's stereotyping, because some men have these things. But I do believe that there's a reason why there are two genders. And that every time we leverage what each gender brings, the world will be a better place. So I think about my own unit, my husband and I see my husband is very strategic. He's a long-term thinker. This is how he's designed. It's not really about gender. It's just about how he's gifted, right? I'm an executor. I move. I'm fast-paced. I'm responsive and very fast, right? My husband thinks, and he thinks long-term. When you bring those two things together, you have a powerful force that is both strategic and executionary. That is powerful. And this is how I see the genders, right? I feel like we should always have male leaders, and we must always have female leaders. We can't have only male leaders, and we shouldn't have only female leaders. We should have both together. And I think that's where variety comes in. Women are collaborative. Women are relational. Women are nurturing. Women are intuitive. These are traits that women have that they bring into the leadership position. But unfortunately, not many countries are like Rwanda. Rwanda is clearly an exceptional, right? In terms of women in leadership. But the world this has been a bit absent. And even the women who came into leadership for a long time became masculine because that's what they saw. That's changing now, because women are now embracing their feminine side more and becoming more authentic in how they're leading as women. But I think we shouldn't have one or the other. I think we should have both. And the conversation should never be female leaders against male leaders or male leaders against, or that one does it better. No, I would say let's have both in the room.
No, I hear you. I'm interested in, because we've kind of verbalized what women leaders bring to the table, and what men are able to do. And you talked about your husband and how you've created this partnership that works, that each person is bringing their strength. I had last year, I think it was last year, yes, I had the head of the Her name is Patience Mutesi. She's the head of one of Rwanda's biggest banks. Beautiful lady. And we were talking about the most important financial choices you'll ever make in life. And, you know, she gave me a lot of things that you should do, investing and this and that. But personally, I've always felt that the most important financial choice you'll make is who your partner is, who you marry. Am I right?
For sure, without a doubt. For sure, without a doubt. It's better to marry right or don't marry at all.
Ish.
Yeah. Because marriage is such a huge part of our lives when we get married. Our spouses can determine whether we thrive, or our spouses can determine whether we are derailed. Our spouses can determine whether we can become richer. Our spouses can determine if we become poorer, just simply because of the mindset that the person has, for example, around wealth. Their own money habits can determine can impact our own family money habits and our wealth creation as a whole. The discipline around working and working with purpose and marrying someone who doesn't care about those things because they're not important to them. I mean, I just think it's a very important decision. It's something that I constantly pray for my children, that they will marry well. And the amount of time you spend if there is a crisis in your family unit can derail you from creating a dream and fulfilling the dream.
You know, I always say that I was only able to do this podcast because my wife supported me.
Yeah, 100%. Because she supports you, maybe not even in the way people think. Sometimes it's just because she loves the name. And you just share with her, oh, I'm thinking of this thing, and I'm going to call it a long form. She's like, I love it. And the energy, the boost that you get just simply by that. I recently said to my husband, one has to be careful what we say to one another because we price our feedback so much that we can't speak carelessly to one another because our words are so important to each one of us. And your spouse becomes one of the most influential person in your life. The person you expose yourself to every day. We talked about mindset earlier on, and our mindset shapes the sort of decisions we can take. If the person who you're speaking to the most in that home is someone who's negative, for example, that can prevent you from taking some steps. I have come on a tour to East Africa and spending 2 weeks away from home. I can do this because my husband is there cheering me on. He's just sent me a text just before we got on here when I said I was going on this podcast. And he said, I am proud of you.
He's speaking life into you.
Consistently. Right? Yesterday, I woke up a little bit uncomfortable with just the fact that I arrived and I just, for whatever the reason was, and I spent time praying, right? And then just declaring and just saying, there are open heavens over you in Kigali. And I know what that did to me in that moment. And there were times when he was running for office, for example, where he was low and just discouraged. And it was my voice that gave him the humph to keep pushing, to say, listen, this is an assignment and we're going all the way to the ballot box. I could say that to him because I believed in him and my voice was the most important. It didn't matter what anyone else was saying. And those moments where he's down, that, just because this is the person who believes in me, I can go on. So we mustn't waste our time. It's better not to marry at all than to marry wrongly. Let's do this calculatedly. And those of us who have good marriages, let's talk about it. Let's not be afraid.
That's something I was having a discussion with. There is such bad press.
Yes. It's as
Young
if there's a plan. Don't want to get married. Yes.
That, we really, you're speaking and I'm busy thinking, there might be someone who's listening to this and saying, I really need to think relationship different, because what you're talking about is relationship. Yes. It's not about money per se.
No.
It's what is this relationship?
Yes.
Because relationships can either build or destroy.
Yes.
What I feel sometimes is that we spend more time talking about the X's and O's, the dollars, and not understanding that dollars are just a result of a process
of alignment. We begin the year and we ask ourselves, how much money do we want to generate as a family? How much do you want to generate? How much do I want to generate? And the minute I tell you what I want to generate, when I share with you the ideas that I have, you ask yourself, what can I contribute to help my wife to achieve this? And when my husband shares with me, I ask myself, what can I do to contribute to him achieving this? That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Marriage is something, and like I said earlier, I said, I think that those who have married well should not hide.
But you see, we worry.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. You know
Speak
what?
for yourself.
I'll say it. I married well.
Yes.
But sometimes
Yes.
the world that we live in,
Yes.
you want to keep that
Yes.
private.
Yes. Why?
I guess I'm not an overly religious person, but
yes.
There's a word they call it the evil eye. You do not want the.
But somebody has convinced you about the evil eye. What about the good eye? What happened to the good eye? Who created this conversation around the evil eye? So we've been talking earlier on, and there wasn't a point in time when we spoke that you didn't reference your wife at least 5, 6, maybe even 10 times. You were not faking it. We're just we could have a conversation about coffee to tea, and there's a reference to your wife, right? There is, and unfortunately, as long as we hide it, and they publicize the bad marriages
all the time.
Every day, the PR behind bad marriages is so efficient that now young people who should be desirous of getting married to create these sort of teams that we're talking about.
That are super powerful.
That's super powerful. Now, they don't see those. They see these and the branding behind those and the media behind those. And now they believe that is all there is to life, bad marriages. Now they're reluctant. But here we are thinking about the evil eye. I actually believe in the good eye. I think that the more I talk about how wonderful my marriage is, the good eye amplifies what it is that I see. I'm married 25 years. I celebrated my silver jubilee in May.
I'll be married 10.
10 years.
Yeah.
Well done. A decade.
Yeah,
right.
Almost, yeah.
Yes, almost a decade. And I didn't keep quiet about how wonderful my husband is. Because men are also getting bashed online, right?
Everyone's getting bashed.
But especially men are getting bashed. And I've made a point to say that I married a good man and they are good men. And every time I see a good man, I see a woman complimenting her husband, I make a point to amplify it. Because I want my sons also to see that the world is full of good men as well. Your father is not the only good man. So that you know that it is possible to be a man who's respected, respectable, who's providing for his family, and who's also a protector, who's consistent and deliberate about building a culture within their families. It is possible that these men exist, but if they are too quiet, we may never know that they are there.
Now,
I hope you will change.
I'll talk to my social media team.
Okay, so yeah.
let me ask you the last question.
Yes.
So I'm just, when I get a chance to sit with a business leader, I try to tap into their knowledge base and say, okay, if you were to lose everything and start afresh with only the 100,000 naira, let's say only 100,000 naira. Imagine you're a 25-year-old, you're still in university. How do you, in the Nigeria that exists today?
Correct.
Because again, the Nigeria that existed then,
different.
It's a totally different one.
Yes.
Do you think you'd be able to get wealthy again? Or was the time an outlier? Were you an outlier? If you were to do it again, how would you do it?
So it's the same person that is doing it again.
It's you.
Yes. So it's the same person.
You're 25.
Yes. The only difference is that that I'm starting again.
But you have all the knowledge that you have today.
Today, right. I will first of all agree that my mindset is a critical element. At the time when I started before, I didn't know it was. But when I look back now, I know. And so I'm very protective of my mindset today. So I will invest in believing. I will invest in believing in my vision. I'll invest and protect my belief.
What do you mean by that?
So one thing that I believe is that if I start a business today, I'll be successful. Okay? I'll be successful at it. It's a belief. But there are times that things happen that question that belief and can successfully make you no longer believe it. What I will do today is that taking that belief, I will consistently orchestrate boundaries and guardrails not to ever shift from that belief, because I believe that my success, first of all, starts with my belief.
So make your confidence unshakable. Believe in yourself.
Believe in
truly.
yourself. Truly. And then...
But then that's super hard.
It is. It's a discipline. It's a discipline. So I tell you what happened to me. When I arrived in Kigali, I had a moment where, should I be doing this? Is this a good use of my time? It's a small country. Can I really make a difference? But when I made a decision to come to East Africa, I wasn't asking this question. But suddenly I had a moment where I was unsure. But because I understand the power of my mind, and that if I allow myself to sit in this moment, this entire East Africa tour will be destroyed. Because I know that the mind sets the tone for the reality that I see. So what did I do? I sat up quickly to reorganize my thinking quickly so that I do not self-sabotage.
That's amazing. Because that's what we do. We do that a lot.
Yes. I will not self-sabotage. So I have a famous quote that I hold very closely to myself. And it says that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Let him not think that he can receive anything from God. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let him not think he will receive anything from God. And we receive from God because we have faith. The minute you're double-minded, God doesn't show what you want. He's uncertain because you're uncertain. So what was my certainty? My certainty was I was coming to East Africa and it was going to be successful. But suddenly, I'm now getting double-minded about it. I understand the risk that I stand if I sit in this double-mindedness. So I quickly organized my thoughts. What's the first thing that I did? I sent text messages to my support system. Hi, Sissy. Are you available for a moment of prayer? I send the text message to 3-4 people. The first person that calls me, we get on a call and get on a prayer call. It's my way of remaining centered, because I know with prayer, I can organize my thoughts so that there's no double-mindedness. I can increase my faith level because of my prayer. I got off the call with my first friend. Then I called my mom. And as a Nigerian mother, your standard thing, when you say hello to your children, you start to pray. So my mom prayed. And she was like, oh, I hear you're in another country. This is what's going to happen. She declared, she spoke live, and then she dropped off. And then my husband calls. And he did the same thing. The first thing he said is, there's an open heaven over you in East Africa. That's all I needed to hear. I gathered myself together, my thoughts together. And the minute I became certain and unshakable, things started to respond. Things started to move. I started receiving calls that I wasn't receiving before. So what do I know today that I didn't know before? That my mind is so powerful and I should spend more time protecting it than allowing anything to question it.
So that's step number 1. Believe in what you're doing. But now I asked you because every so often I want to steal from the best.
Correct.
So 1, believe.
Yes.
2, what business would you go into? Would you do the same thing?
I could. I could. But what would I do today? I heard we talked about hospitality. I would like to start training. I like to teach. I would like to start teaching about service, about how do we serve And if I had 100,000 naira,
And remember, you're
Yes.
25-year-old.
yes, I will expose myself to more information. I will go on Claude. I would use AI. I would use ChatGPT, create training programs that help me to use free platforms like Instagram to start teaching about hospitality, about customer service, about how to serve people in a way that you make them feel loved, cherished. I will start a school called the School of African Hospitality. And I would identify what makes African hospitality unique. How can I codify that from traditional hospitality to then bringing it to the service industry? I will start with platforms that are cheap, that are free, create
So
consistency,
YouTube and,
yes,
and
the
Instagram.
and be consistent in churning out content. I'll use AI, but I remember that I'm just using AI to amplify what I already know. I can have conversations with my mom to say, when you were growing up, when they say somebody is hospitable, that house, this is how we do things in Shekiri culture. What are the things that are unique? She'll tell me. I will take that and translate it into how to serve in hospitality with this African hospitality. Create a what you call a recipe, right? And codify it, design courses with it, be consistent in it. But because I never know whether Marriott will decide that they are going to create a set of hotels on the continent that want to be uniquely African and invite me to be the one that sets the culture for that organization. And I'll charge them in dollars.
No, listen, that is so, your mind. Yeah, it's so fascinating sitting down and talking to entrepreneurs, because so I've had conversations with artists,
Yes.
like really good artists. I actually had Davido on
Wonderful.
earlier this year.
Okay.
And last year I had another very famous Ugandan artist called Joshua Baraka. You should listen to him. Very
Good. Okay.
great artist. And I remember sitting down with him and trying to understand, how do you create music?
Those
Right?
guys.
So in your head, you hear notes,
words,
or artists who
beats.
draw.
Yes.
Like, how do you?
It's
And
incredible.
it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like it's witchcraft.
Yes. Or like the comedians.
You know? So I'm also listening to you.
Yes.
And literally I put you on the spot
Yes.
and said, okay, create a pathway for a young Tara.
I know.
And boom, boom, boom. And and you're like, okay, this is what I'll do. This is how I scale. Because I was listening to the things that you're saying.
Yes.
It's fascinating. And it's been an absolute joy. And now I'm left. There's a book that you actually have.
Yes.
That you wrote, and it was a bestseller.
Yes.
Is it available in Kigali?
Not in Kigali. It's available in Kenya. And they
What's the book called?
Called Building Beyond You. And it's available in Nuria Bookstore. It's a famous, they distribute to East African countries.
And is it online?
It's
Can you
also
find it
online. It's on Amazon. You can get the Kindle version of it as well. You can order it. But I know that it's difficult to get books from Amazon to East Africa. So I figure that the best bet will be to download the Kindle version of it, or you get someone to buy it and bring it when they're coming.
And what's the book about? What's the promise?
So the promise of value is it's number one, an real African entrepreneurship journey of building to last. That is taking a business idea from concept to startup stage, to growth stage, to expansion stage, and then my transition. It's a full-scale conversation from an African entrepreneurship standpoint. So I think that is relatable. And so everyone needs to get it if you're African. And number two, it is what you call a mini MBA. So if you don't want the jargons of going to business school, there's a lot to learn from someone who built from the scratch. I also not just built my business, I built an ecosystem and an industry from the scratch. So there are many things that I learned on the journey that are in the book. But also the book has reflections. It has places at the end of every chapter that helps you to write what you want to start doing, what you want to stop doing, and what you want to continue to do, because you will learn about the things that you don't know about. you could also identify areas of things that I'm doing that you are also doing, and you can tick them as things that you should continue doing. And there are moments where you think that you should actually stop doing, and you'll be able to document that. It's a great book that was forwarded by one of the most leading female entrepreneurs in Nigeria, Ibokun Awushika. She was the first chairman of First Bank, the oldest bank in Nigeria, first female chairman of First Bank, an entrepreneur of almost 35 years. And she forwarded the book. Vusi, afterword the book as well.
Tembakwayo?
Yeah, Tembakwayo did the afterword for the book. I consider it a true African entrepreneurship story that needed to be told, but the message whose time has come. And my dream and aspiration for African entrepreneurship is that we build beyond ourselves, and that's what the book is about.
And when, one of the things with the generation that exists today is they don't read. So let's say I want you in a short form. Are you online? Do you have a YouTube?
Audio.
Is
Yes,
there an
yes.
audio book? Not audiobooks, but where
can you hear
where can
me?
we hear you?
Me. Oh, okay. I'm on YouTube. I'm very active on Instagram.
Oh, really?
I think we post maybe content twice a day on Instagram. I'm not very good on LinkedIn, but I'm working on that soon. But I do have presence on LinkedIn, just not as active as I am on Instagram. I've resurrected my Twitter because I did a Uganda version of X Conversations, right? So I'm back on Twitter as well. YouTube, there's loads of interviews, loads of podcasts that I've done. I sat with a Ghanaian podcaster who came to Nigeria and recorded me. I sat with one of the leading broadcast guys in Nigeria called Ulushola. It was one of those podcasts I'm very proud of. I sat for 2.5 hours with him.
Wow.
He sucked my life out, right? So you can watch that and listen to that. And I feel like African entrepreneurs were not telling the stories enough, and so that people can hear, inspire. And the African entrepreneurship story can be on the global stage. So anyone who's an entrepreneur out there who's African, please let us hear your voice. It's important and you matter.
And for someone who listens to you and wants to reach out to you, how do they do that?
You can reach out to me on Instagram at Tara Durotoye. You can also reach out to me by email. I have a website, www.tarafela-durotoye.com.
Will you respond?
My team will respond. My team will respond.
Tara,
Yes.
Listen, I promise this is not the last time we sit down.
Okay.
Whether it's going to be recorded, maybe I'd love to
Lagos.
come to Lagos.
Okay.
I've never been.
No way.
Yeah, I've never been. I'm sorry, your government just allowed Rwandans to come into the country
Okay.
visa-free maybe 2 months ago.
So I have a conference in September. It's an annual gathering of what I call Beyonders. So Beyonders are business people who are building businesses beyond themselves. So last year we had 1,381 people
Oh, wow.
in attendance. This year we're planning to host 2,500 entrepreneurs at Eco Hotel in Lagos. So I'd like to extend to you an invitation to come around that time. It'll be great to explore Nigeria through my lens.
Absolutely.
So let's make it a date, September 25th.
I hear you, and I'll be there.
Good.
I listen. Who am I to say no to that? No, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Listen, like I said, I have to sit down with you another time because my God, I feel like I've just scratched the surface of just learning, because we've talked about business.
Yes.
But the most, for me, the most interesting parts of this conversation has been about family and partnership.
That's interesting.
And that's something that we don't really talk about. Because again, everything else was Harvard Business School.
Yes.
But that is actual real life.
Yes,
And
humanity.
it's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on the long form. It's I know we've talked for an hour plus.
Good.
And I know that you've probably been super tired.
Yes.
So I do not take this opportunity for granted.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for inviting me. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with you. And tell your wife that I know her now.
She's amazing.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Yes, and well done to both of you for being such examples. 10 years is it's a decade of keeping at it, staying consistent with it. Thank you. It's important. It's important for us is important for the continent. We need more successful man, woman together, staying together, growing, raising children. We need it. So please keep at it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.